Prayer alone is not going to break your chains of lust. And in this video, I want to walk you through why prayer alone is not working and what other systems we need to look at in order to overcome this issue. I'm going to be vulnerable in this video because this is something I've struggled with my whole adult life, basically, since I was a kid. And maybe if you're in a similar situation. So I hope this blesses you and we're going to talk about it today. At the end of this video, I'm going to show you I've built out a free assessment that will really hold up a mirror to where you're at. It'll help find those blind spots that you can start to make progress, as well as show you what systems you need to work on. So if that sounds at all interesting to you and you want access to that, stick around for the end of this video. I think you'll get a lot of value from it. Quickly, if you don't know who I am, my name's Austin Simons, founder of Modern Crusader, where I work with Catholics on nutrition, fitness, overcoming lust, and helping you become Christ-centered, elite, and optimized. I've also personally been in the trenches with this battle, with this Goliath. So everything I'm going to show you are things that I've experienced, I've experimented with. I've paid other coaches to help me conquer lust. And now I'm trying to share that knowledge for you with the best of what I've learned, incorporated into our Catholic faith. So if you've struggled with this for any amount of time, you know that lust is not just simply a purity issue. It affects every other area of your life. It drains your energy. It kills your confidence. Also, it undermines your leadership. And if you have kids or you're a husband with a wife, you're turning your back on them and you're cheating essentially. And that's hard for us to swallow. And I think it's important we just say the hard truth out loud. Quick story. It's so fascinating. I had a priest one time in confession way back when I had confessed to pornography. And he bluntly told me that I had committed adultery on my wife. And I didn't want to hear that. That was like shocking because I had compartmentalized my behavior as something that like doesn't really affect anyone else. But that hit me hard. And so I want you to be woken up to that fact that you are essentially cheating with your cell phone. So what are men doing today? Well, with the conversations I have with men who struggled with this issue, I hear things like white knuckling. Maybe you've tried some free challenges, no fap. We've tried willpower. And a lot of the advice we get from our spiritual fathers, from priests, from media, from influencers is a lot of it is pray harder, do this devotion, pray the rosary every day. That will solve it. I'm not against the rosary. I'm actually very devoted to the rosary and it does help with purity. But the message we're getting as Catholic men is essentially just pray harder and it will work. Well, when it doesn't actually solve our issues, then we start to feel like there's something wrong with us. At least that was my experience. Quick coffee break. So here is why white knuckling it, just praying, does not work. Willpower will run dry. It's just like motivation. You ever feel really excited to get into the gym, start a new program, or maybe if you're a business owner, try this new lead gen strategy. And then after a few weeks, you realize it's way harder than you thought. And that motivation's gone. And a lot of times we slip back. Willpower is the same way. Another issue that affects why this doesn't work is something called decision fatigue. If other areas of your life are not locked in, your brain is just fried and you are more prone to make bad decisions, essentially. This bleeds into areas of your nutrition, of working out or not, of sleeping in or hitting the alarm. And when lust starts to come and the urges crave, because all these other behaviors have preceded that, you're way more likely to just give in to the first little inkling of temptation because all these other dominoes had fallen before. Poor nutrition, poor sleep, no exercise, no motivation. Boom. Now I'm going to fall headfirst into pornography. And the main point I want to drive home is that we can't compartmentalize your lust and your out of control behavior. It affects every garden that we cultivate. Your mindset, right? We talked about self-confidence, your body, your soul, and your vocation. So I've been developing what I call the 4 archetypes of different stages that men are on in their journey to becoming a modern crusader, hence the name Modern Crusader. I'm going to tell you a brief story on each archetype and hopefully you'll relate to one of these. I think maybe not 100% of it, but you'll start to hear a little bit of yourself in each story. The first archetype we're going to call the stalled warrior. This is the lowest on the totem pole. I changed the names for the purpose of this video, but I'm going to name him Mark. Mark's 34. He's married. He has 2 kids. He wakes up late. He skips breakfast and hits snooze more often than not on his alarm. He prays usually when he feels guilty or he feels like he needs something. After work, he typically collapses on the couch with junk food and late night scrolling on his phone. Some of the beliefs he tells himself, this is just who I am. Mark is essentially inverted of the Jungian warrior archetype. He has potential energy, but he lets it stagnate. He turns it inward into shame and self-destruction. This typically leaves you drained of your energy, your confidence erodes, and you feel like a fraud as a leader, like you're putting on a mask for other people, but then behind closed doors, you know that you're actually not living who you claim to be. A few traits that Mark has is he has a fixed mindset. He's guilt-driven, he avoids responsibility, and he rationalizes failure as inevitable. This can work for other people, but this will never work for me, Mark tells himself. The next level up from the stalled warrior from Mark is going to be what we call the inconsistent fighter. Now let's look at James here. James, he's 28. He bursts into the gym for 2 weeks straight. He got really excited about a new workout program he saw online. Then he falls off for the next month or two. He'll set alarms for morning prayer, but he'll snooze them half of the time. James here buys meal prep containers, but he lets them sit empty on his counter. He has the materials there, he's just not actually taking action. Every time he slips with pornography or falling off his diet, the beliefs he's telling himself is, I just can't stay consistent. I can start, I get excited, but I just can't seem to stay motivated consistently. The Jungian context of this would be the eternal boy. Think Peter Pan. He wants growth, but he recoils from the sustained discipline that's necessary to keep going. James here, he's motivated by the hype. He's externally driven, impatient for results. He wants them now. And James blames everything on his lack of motivation rather than a lack of discipline. James here has short wins and boosts of confidence, but every time he relapses or falls back, it breeds more shame that he just can never get out of this cycle. His prayer life seems to feel almost like a roller coaster in how he shows up for it. And one of his core struggles is he actually confuses intensity with progress. He lives in cycles of overdrive and collapse. Okay, the third archetype up on the totem pole is going to be the rising Crusader. So now let's look at David. David's 31, just started writing his daily non-negotiables down. He blocks off prayer in the morning, he lifts weights 3 times a week, and he's installed guardrails on his cell phone like Covenant Eyes. He still fights urges, and sometimes he skips days, but instead of quitting, he learns, he takes that data from failure and adjusts his tactics. This would be the Jungian hero archetype. He's entering the battle willingly, though he's still fragile, he's still in training, he's going headfirst into the fight. Now, David has a growth mindset. He's hopeful, humble enough to learn from failure. He's starting to live by identity rather than emotions. Some of the core struggles that David still faces, he's still haunted by the fear of backsliding. That hasn't gone away, and he still doubts if progress will last. Prayer is becoming more habitual, and he's developing a deeper relationship with the Lord. Okay, and the last archetype is going to be the modern Crusader, the highest totem pole that we're striving to be. This guy we're going to talk is going to be named Anthony. Anthony's 40. He lives with rhythm, meaning his morning starts with prayer. His workouts are booked in his calendar. He treats them like work meetings. He has a Sunday CEO meeting where he schedules out his adoration time, his workouts, his meal prep. He plans family time. His phone is locked down with guardrails because he knows his own weakness and humility. And his kids recognize him as being a present father because he prioritizes that. This would be the archetype similar to the integration of king, warrior, lover, magician. Strength, wisdom, mission, and presence are all aligned now. He's resilient, centered, mission-driven, and he sees himself as a steward of God's gifts. Now look, temptation still knocks for Anthony, but it no longer defines him. His energy is high, his confidence is steady, and his prayer is very active, very alive, and very relational. Some of the main struggles that Anthony may still face would be guarding against complacency, where things are going really well, you start to get a little lax on your systems. And just something he needs to keep in mind is without a strong vision that moves him forward, even the best systems risk becoming stale and broken down over time. So those are the 4 archetypes: stalled warrior, inconsistent fighter, rising crusader, modern crusader. I hope that you probably identified yourself with maybe a few of those. Maybe there's overlap, a few in the stalled, a few in the inconsistent, etc. I know for me, I'm still working on it. I don't consider myself fully aligned, to be honest, if I'm being vulnerable. But if you're sitting here thinking, where do I fit into that? This leads me back into what I've created, the CEO assessment, Christ centered, elite, optimized assessment. It's a free quiz you take. It takes less than 5 minutes, asks you a few questions, and it's going to generate a comprehensive report of where your archetype is. Not only that, based on your answers, it's going to give you a breakdown on the systems you need to focus on, which guardian would help you move forward most effectively. I'm really proud of this tool I built. So check it out in the comments below. Once we figure out where our archetype is, we're able to see our blind spots that are not apparently obvious. Once you know your behavior, then we can install the right systems and address the gardens that need tending. If you want to beat lust, you have to have all 4 gardens aligned and tended to, and we need to start working up the totem pole of that archetype ladder. Now, I go into all of this in more detail in my newsletter for this week. So if you want to read that, I'll link it down below. I think you'll get a lot of value from it. So the reason this works is that willpower fails, systems carry when feelings won't. We want to get out of that cycle of just reacting to things, being unintentional, and being emotional with how we approach pretty much everything: your workouts, your urges, your prayer life. So I invite you, take advantage of that CEO assessment. I'd love to get your comments down below. What archetype are you? Where do you see yourself on the archetype ladder? And do you know what systems need tending to? Anyway, that's all I got for you today. I hope this video blessed you guys. And notice I did not put Austin as the modern crusader. That was on purpose because I don't think I'm there yet. But together, brothers, we will rise and serve Christ our Lord. All right, guys. God bless. Have a great one, and I'll catch you on the next one.